Yes, everybody. Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're safe. And well, it is Friday, and that means it's time for Hammers headlines in association with the KUMB.com boys. Now, lots to talk about. This morning, we spoke about a potential summer move for Dan Ashworth to be brought and getting the band back together, a bit like the old Blues Brothers film. With obviously Carl McCauley and Graham Potter at West Ham now, so could make it the trio. Not quite the quartet, as the current sporting director at Chelsea was the fourth man. He was their Ringo Starr. But and at lunchtime or late afternoon, we did the Graham Potter press conference ahead of the game on Monday. Last night we had our debut episode of Hammer's Hot Takes with the likes of Ryan from West Ham Fan TV. We had Darren Blewett from a West Ham youth team player. We had Alex. We had Grace, all talking about hot takes all around things like was the time right to get rid of Moyes? Will Potter bring us success in Europe again? All that type of stuff. And you had the opportunity to make your voice heard as well, which was a great show. So check it out. If you got about an hour and a half, particularly over the weekend, no West Ham, you might as well do a little back catalogue trawl of the West Ham Network content. To this weekend, also we'll have should have a opposition fan chat with Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic, big Newcastle fan, ahead of the game on Monday, and also the next series in the Wahai series. Wahai do West Ham play in claret and blue? We're going to be talking about, but let's talk about some summer moves. It's all summer moves, obviously, because we're in a period where we haven't got transfer window doesn't open until potentially the 1st of June. We spoke about that a couple of days ago with the Club World Cup soon upon us. There could be a possibility of us opening the transfer, keeping the transfer window open, then closing it for a couple of weeks for the Club World Cup, then reopening it afterwards to assure we don't have a situation where our window runs out as the rest of Europe keeps going, because you can only open your transfer window for 8 to 9 days. Anyway, one player who is definitely on the move, 100% according to Fabrizio Romano, is Angel Gomes. He is running down his contract, very similar to what's his face, Jonathan David, and obviously we're being linked with him as well. But according to reports, West Ham target Angel Gomes has not yet decided, despite what people say, has not decided which club he's going to join after his little contract ends. Obviously, he can now sign a pre-season contract, a pre-contract agreement, like from January onwards for anyone outside of France now. But it's understood the player is waiting to see if one club in particular shows interest. Now, at present, he has 5 offers on the table from us, Fulham, and 3 other unnamed clubs. We believe one of them is Tottenham as well. However, the player is in no rush to decide, and his representatives are expected to ramp up negotiations and discussions next week. West Ham did make contact with the player by a third party during the transfer window, but according to Clarence Hugh, he was told directly that the offer was nowhere near acceptable. Now, this obviously offer was under the previous regime, not the Potter McCauley era, so that shouldn't count against us, really. His main representative is his brother, who was also a professional football player under 21 level in Portugal and spent the final part of his career in Salford. So it's believed, according to Clarence Hugh, that the family will seek an intermediary to help finalise contract negotiations and discussions with the chosen club. Could it be he's waiting for Man United? Obviously, a former Man United player. I don't know. But the fact is, we've already got offers on the table, and he's still waiting for a particular offer. So maybe West Ham isn't his first choice. We'll see. And actually, all of these links are English-based players, really. According to several reports, West Ham and Everton have reportedly opened talks over a deal to sign Tammy Abrahams in the summer. After coming through Chelsea's youth team ranks, 27-year-old decided to join Roma back in 2021. He started his life very promising in Serie A, really, scoring 17 goals and 4 assists in his debut season, but he couldn't replicate that performance following season before sustaining a very serious injury. After returning from that injury, he moved to AC Milan ahead of this season, but has been played mainly in a rotational format. Not necessarily the top man, but the reports claim the result AC Milan are unlikely to make his loan move permanent, and he's set to return to Roma, and they're prepared to cash in on him with the player a likely return to the Premier League. We've registered our interest apparently in signing him and have made contact to learn about the details of that in terms of how much it would cost and signing on fees and wages and stuff like that. However, we're not the only club in town. Everton are also in the race for him and have inquired about details to get the deal done, as well as the likes of Fulham, Forest, Newcastle are all interested in potentially signing him. And Leeds are also showing an interest if they gain promotion. And it seems they're starting to put their transfer targets together as well, with one if they stay in the Championship, one if they get promoted. So, I mean, when he's fit, he's a good player. But there's that caveat when he's fit. Same as someone like a Dominic Calvert-Lewin. When he's fit, he's a good player. But when he's fit, you have to see the package. I mean, if they're asking for silly money, I think we've been linked. We're talking about the likes of, I think, Emmanuel Emega. He seems to be, for me, someone who is the right price and the right profile of the type of player we need. I'd assume Abrahams has a little bit of the Fulkrug syndrome about me in terms of when I think about him. Had a major injury, came back, but you still got that major injury in the background. And do those things ever heal 100%? I don't think so. And so it doesn't take a lot to re-aggravate it. And so then you've got a dud on your hand, really. But we'll see. We'll see. Another player we are linked with, and another English. It's all English players today, it seems. According to XWHU employee, West Ham hold a strong interest in bringing Kyle Walker-Peters to the London Stadium in the summer. He said the club have been keen on Southampton defender for some months, as we sort of alluded to before, with the player noticed as a key target last transfer window. However, the club opted to bring in Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and what a successful acquisition he had. And indeed, that's one of the questions and the hot takes, asking the question whether Aaron Wan-Bissaka is our hammer of the year with 11, 12 games to go. And pretty much everyone agreed. However, it seems highly likely that West Ham are going to ramp up our interest at the end of the season to bring in the former Spurs player to work under Potter next season. Obviously, Southampton due to go down, and they'll be clearing the books. And there's a couple of players. 3 players we're interested in. No, actually 4 players we are potentially interested in Southampton. X advised that both Everton and Fulham are also looking, but also they're looking at Soufal as a potential replacement. So it could be they duke it out for Soufal and we bring in KWP. And he also mentioned, as we said, Emerson's attracting interest from elsewhere, with the club potentially looking to cash in on the former Chelsea player, following obviously the progression of Ollie Scholes, and so on and so forth. We've also been made aware that another Southampton player, a player we're linked with, Taylor Howard-Bellis, who we know has moved his agent to Walthouse. Obviously, who's a key agent in terms of player recruitment for West Ham. We're led to be believed, according to reports, that Southampton want to recoup their investments they laid out for Taylor, which means that a price tag of £20 million is on his head if he's to leave, but will otherwise be happy to keep him for their promotion pushes. He's under contract until June 2028. So technically, they are not in a rush to sell him, but they sort of are at the same time because they need to sell to balance the books. He's been quoted elsewhere saying he wants to stay in the Premier League and maintain his place in the international squad ahead of England's tournament next year in Euros. So, and I think you're going to get that. A lot of players are looking to manoeuvre moves in order to ensure their place on that plane for the Euros. So, as I said, we've been linked with Kyle Walker-Peters, we've been linked with Taylor Howard-Bellis, we've also been linked with Aaron Ramsdale as well. All 3 Southampton players, and Tyler Dribbin as well. So there's 4 Southampton players we've been linked with. Will we get all 4? No. Will we get 1? Probably. Will we get 2? That's probably a max. But And for me, it's like Cole Walker-Peters. It's like if he came in, it would be as backup to Wan-Bissaka, but what backup to Wan-Bissaka and also backup to Ollie Scarles, as he can play both. Same as Aaron can play both sides, but it does gives you. It means you don't necessarily have to go in with 4 wing backs. You could go in with 3. In that KWP can play both. Aaron Wan-Bissaka can play both, and then obviously Ollie's very much on the left. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. One person who definitely 99.9% not being a West Ham shirt next year is Guerrero Rodriguez. We've spoken about several sides have shown an interest in him, and it seems we may well get a bidding war, an unlikely bidding war for Guerrero, which would obviously benefit the coffers at West Ham. But according to River Norteas, Argentina club River Plate are considering offering £12 million, €15 million to beat clubs in La Liga to the signature of the World Cup winning central midfielder, who obviously we signed on a free. Even allowing for his signing on fee, that'll be probably about £10 million profit on him in a year. Ain't too shabby. So, and that's what we were saying. Sometimes these players, we bring them in because we bought them into the Premier League and we want to sell them out because we become a Premier League player. They do tend to have an increased price tag on them, and so we could have made 10 million quid on Guerrero. He's probably played 12 matches this season, 15 matches this season, which obviously would be very welcome in these days of PSR, as obviously looking to post probably a loss of around approaching €800 million, I reckon, potentially. With obviously the investment we made in the summer. But yeah, no, it's funny, isn't it? People like Guerrero Rodriguez, out of the ashes, the phoenix arises. You got to think him. Then there obviously you got people like Agard, who, as Anton said yesterday, it looks like Potter's keen about keeping him at West Ham, and I'm all for that. But even if it's a decision made that actually he's not the right man for the job under Potter, then there's a lot of sides. Man United are interested in Real Madrid. There would be a bidding war for him, probably north of the 20s, probably more like 30, 35 million pounds for him. So, that between the two of them is almost 50 million pounds, which could be reinvested in the squad potentially. Plus, you've got obviously question marks over Kudus, and again, that was one of the hot takes we took yesterday. That Kudus should be sold in the summer, and all the panel had differing views, which was really interesting to hear everyone's different views. It wasn't totally unanimous in their decisions. And that's it, my friends. Thank you very, very much for your time. As per usual, make sure you keep an eye on the channel. We've got lots of content coming up over the weekend to keep you entertained, particularly in a West Ham free weekend. And then Monday, we got the Toon. Can we make it 3 wins in 3? Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, and I'll see you soon. Much love. Bye-bye.